let's talk about 3 major healing blocks that are nuanced and how to overcome them, because a lot of people get stuck on them. And what I'm talking about, the first block is the information overload. The second one is the inability to digest and metabolize anger and frustration. And the third one, old triggers and dealing with old triggers when they are cropping up or keep on cropping up on your healing journey. So let's dive in, let's bring this up. So let's start with information overload. There's obviously so much knowledge being passed around, which is not a bad thing in itself. However, of course, if you are consuming a lot of healing information, that will confuse and overwhelm your nervous system, because your body does not feel helped by a data that goes into your mind. Your body does not care about that. Your body, the way you look after your body and the way you look after your nervous system, that's a completely different ball game. So, a lot of you are, and this is what I noticed, when people are like on their healing journeys, and sometimes they will comment under my videos, especially on TikTok, it's like, what is the best therapeutic approach? What is the correct healing techniques? What's the technique for this or that? Instead of asking an actual question which is, what actually helps you specifically? Because what helps you specifically will be very different from what helps John or Susan or whoever. And that's why it is beautiful, because on the healing journey, you are actually really learning your preferences. So instead of making this whole process so complicated and complex, although, like I said in my previous videos, it is full of contradictions and it is full of nuance, because it's non-linear, but it's not complicated in its essence. So if you are struggling with too much information and your nervous system is completely overloaded, bring it back to your body and ask yourself these questions, and then you start answering for yourself and doing the actions. So, what food feels good for my body? How long do I have to sleep? Maybe for some of you, it's like 6 hours, but for some of you, it will be like 8.5 or maybe more. Yeah. What movement feels regulating? What movement feels freeing? What exercise I enjoy? Or maybe not even exercise. Maybe you like walking or hiking or whatever sport you are doing. Yeah. What people, because we're not only talking about, because your body does not only care about, how, you move and how much you sleep and what do you eat. It also cares about the people you're surrounded by. Are these people safe, healthy, interesting for you specifically, enjoyable, pleasant for you, for your nervous system? Are environments in which you are spending a lot of time, are they clean? Are they pleasant on the eye? Are they giving you pleasure and make your body soften? These are the questions, okay? Answer these questions. So people, environments, and what you put in the body, what you do with your body, that's it. Then that is what will actually help you progress straight away. Because as you will notice, these questions are actually really simple, but when you start actually asking them to yourself and thinking about them, you're going to be like, oh, that's more work. Yeah. You need a plan for these questions. Yeah, you need a proper plan, and that will not overwhelm your nervous system. Yeah. You need plan for good food. You need plan for good movement. You need plan for good people. And I'm not saying controlling plan, but it's like, making space for these. Okay. So that is uno. This is how you overcome informational overload. Yeah. Then let's talk about the anger and frustration during the healing process, because that is so common, it's unbelievable, but people are still ashamed of that. People are still ashamed of their anger, are still ashamed or feel guilty for their anger and frustration. They suppress it a lot, and then it shows up in those passive aggressive ways or in the comment section, which is fine, which is absolutely fine. Because let's say, whatever. But that's not helpful to you, because, when people, let's say, are actually passive aggressive, or they are, let's say, externally releasing that anger, which is basically their impulsive reaction, that's just spiraling. That's just the same old loop. You're just repeating the same old behavior. So what to do instead? You gotta learn how to feel the heat of anger and frustration without impulsive reacting. First of all, I want you to think about, okay, when I feel the anger and frustration, what thoughts are you actually having with this? Because those thoughts, those feelings will be connected to a specific types of thoughts. You have to write down these thoughts so you know them by heart, and you'll be able to detect them straight away, and then stop doing the behavior, because those thoughts will lead to you behaving in a specific way, making specific decisions that will again sabotage your progress. And okay, not sabotage, maybe I don't want to use that word because it's kind of self-critical, and I don't want to push that onto you. It just basically creates an old loop. So think about what is happening, and then I want you to really start learning how to feel the heat of anger and frustration without those thoughts, without those behaviors. You got to cut off the neural pathways, because they had been growing strong, really, really strong. You got to cut them off and create new pathways. The new pathway is, I can feel the anger, I can feel the heat of frustration, I can feel all of that, and still stay regulated, and still not react impulsively. Do something different. I can act when the clarity actually shows up, when I know what is the best movement. And maybe there's no movement. Maybe this suppressed emotion just wanted to be felt. That's it. This is how you overcome the anger and frustration. Now let's move on to the old triggers returning again and again. Because guys, this actually causes a lot of frustration with people when you are being caught up in the trigger cycle. I remember when I was on my healing journey, sometimes there were months that I would almost like have the same kind of situations happening and again, and then I would feel, the anger and frustration. And then of course, that was also happening on my clients' journeys. It's normal, okay? But you got to start doing something differently. So when an old trigger keeps coming back, it's time for you to pivot. It's time for you to look honestly at yourself and start really responding differently. Now, a lot of the times the old triggers are relational. Okay, so I'm going to give you some hard truth here. So the triggers, the majority of the triggers, they are relational. They are related to other people, and every time you judge another person for behaving in a specific way, every time you compare yourself to the person, and when I'm saying compare, I mean you either create I am superior to that person or I am inferior to that person. When you create that imbalance, so when you are putting yourself higher, like you're better than someone or you're lower than someone, that's a fallacy. We are simply different. We are different. So this is the thing. We have to really accept it. And sometimes, it's almost like there are different degrees of unhealed and healed. And whatever degree you are on a scale of being healed, that's on you. If you want to stay stuck on a certain, let's say, level of awareness, then judge and compare. Do it. But if you want to surpass the old triggers, stop judging, stop superiority, stop inferiority, and that's it. Now, I'm not talking to be the doormat here. No, I'm talking about proper boundaries that will not make the other person smaller than you, that are not coming from a place of hatred or unresolved things within you. So, and this, you have to discern, and you have to think about, okay, how do I interpret what she's saying, really? So I want you to really look at yourself and look at those triggers, because you have to start responding differently. Because if you keep on responding in the same way, that just means that you haven't changed. Because the old triggers, they're only coming back if you hadn't changed, if there's still some sort of like a resonance or some sort of attraction, you know, however you want to call it. But there's a hook in you. Okay, maybe that's the better word. There is still a hook in you that is like, the trigger. There's still a wound. Because, and this is what I noticed when I started properly healing, some triggers, you know, I've been triggered a lot by different people, of course, as we all had. They just disappear because I started perceiving another person from that place of love. And I'm not talking about love, like I said, in a very kind of soft and warm way. No, love as in a way, do you know what? I can be myself. This person can be themselves, and it's okay. I don't have to be with them every single day. I can limit the access, but I don't need to diminish them or diminish myself. Okay? That's the bit. This is like, and this is, you know, subtle. It's subtle. It's very subtle. And you will notice how with this subtle, almost like action, you'll see that those triggers, they don't stop coming back. That's it. Because you had been actually subtle, and you accepted that other people can do with their life whatever the heck they want, and that doesn't mean anything about you. Okay, so I trust that that was helpful. If you need any help with those healing blocks, please book a session with me. You've got the links down below. Also, like, share, and subscribe. And there's a fly here. Like, share, and subscribe if you found that helpful. And I'm gonna see you. Sorry, I'm gonna see you in my next video. Bye bye.